Hey one, hey all, welcome back to the channel, or to the channel if you're joining us for the first time. As of this recording, it's Friday, man. It's a nice, easy Friday. I don't know when you're watching this, but I hope that whatever day or night it is, that you're having a fantastic one. I'm in a good mood because we're going to take a look today at this guy. It is the combined mode of all of the Transformers Power of the Primes Dinobots into the mighty Volcanicus. Now, I'm not exactly sold on the idea of my Dinobots combining, but regardless of that, the question needs to be asked. Does it work? Is this a good combiner or not? Now, technically, I suppose we will call this one a custom, since I have done so much custom work on each of the Dinobots. In essence, when they go together, we have a custom Volcanicus, and we're going to check out everything to do with him in the latest GotBot True review. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's great to have you here. I'm your host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, and of course, man, subscribe, stick around, join the party, have some fun with us. Check me out everywhere. Have a look at Machinery of Man, the Everything Factor. Check out Transformers Collectors NL while you're at it. And this is Volcanicus. This is Volcanicus. The only time that we had a Dinobot combiner was in the comics when he was known as the Beast, and it's considered to be a dark time for the Dinobots and really a dark time for the comics because it's a thing, an abomination that never should have been. But this is official, even though it still kinda looks like an abomination to me. Mostly because we have bits and pieces everywhere. We have a very strange torso. The Enigma combination is in his mouth. Nevertheless, he does have a fair amount of bulk. He does have a bit of an impressive stature. Like, he looks like he'd be a bruiser, ready to brawl. Not the Decepticon. I mean actually brawl. There's a lot here to like if you're down with the idea of your Dinobots combining. There's a lot here to like, and it does kind of work, though there are weaknesses with it. Most notably, my swoop, and it does color my thoughts on how well this guy works. I don't know. We're going to check him out. Now, before we head over to the table, I just want to kind of give a little bit of a caveat here. We're going to look at what stood since 2014 as my representation of the Dinobots, and then we'll kind of do an after shot with what they've been replaced with. We'll look at them in both robot mode and in dino mode, and then we'll look at kind of how this guy came together and give him grades, as we always do on paint apps: posability, playability, and transformation. So stick around because we're going to head over to the table now and take a closer look at this dude. So we're going to start off with a little bit of before and after, but before we get to that, I want to give a particular shout out here. Longtime supporter of the channel, someone that I consider a friend, Joe, most popularly known from Transformers and Bear, has recently started his own channel, My Life in Collecting. By all means, check that out. It's a great channel, and of course it's only kind of getting going now, but it's a great channel, especially if you like kind of vintage stuff, quirky stuff. So I'll put a link in the description to his channel. Check him out. Now, you see here on the table, I have my custom Age of Extinction Dinobots, and you might be saying, wait, isn't this supposed to be a Volcanicus review? Indeed it is, but I just wanted to kind of start out here. You see, back in 2014, I wanted to have the Dinobots. I wasn't back in collecting too long, only a few years, and I had gotten FOC Grimlock from Starscream Girlfriend, and I really wanted the other Dinobots. And we didn't have a whole lot available in terms of third party, and what we did have was very much masterpiece size, which is cool for anybody into that, and especially if you have the funds for that. I certainly didn't. So I ended up kind of defaulting to the Dinobots that came out for the Age of Extinction movie as they appeared in the movie, or so they said. They didn't really look like the way that they appeared in the movie because these guys were very candy colored. They were bright and didn't really look like Dinobots. So I did a whole lot of custom work to make them look more like their G1 counterparts. Now, of course, I'm somewhat limited because of the molds that were used. And I looked at all of these guys between episodes 66, oh so long ago, and episodes 71. In fact, two of these, Strafe, who I use as Swoop, and Slug, who I use as Slag. Recently, the last night versions were picked up by a couple of guys I know. They've done some tremendous custom work on them. You can check out the pictures for yourself at Transformers Collectors NL. It's a Facebook group. Check it out. And I think you'd be impressed to see the work that they did to give their own take on a G1 motif. And as we all know by now, this has been updated. You see, this served me well in my display for a few years. And we're, going to kind of go from looking at these guys to what my new setup looks like. Like this. And of course, this is my entire team from the Powers of the Primes line. Plus Scorn. I've updated them all except Scorn. Now, a lot of people might ask, hey, why didn't you get the last night version of Scorn, the Voyager class one? I don't know. I'm happy with the deluxe. I still would have had to customize that Voyager. I don't know if it's more accurate or not in terms of size. Maybe it is. But as awesome as that is, and it does look awesome, it is great. I don't know if I was in for Scorn enough in order to pick him up. Now, I've always liked the Dinobots. Besides for those that I mentioned, I looked at the Christmas ornament version of Grimlock in episode 219, if you haven't seen that. I looked at the little Titan Master version of Swoop, known as Tiro, in episode 245. I even looked at Trypticon attempting to join the Dinobot team. That was a fun little stop motion that I did a little while ago. I just wanted an excuse to play with Trypticon. I'm not even going to pretend that it was anything else. I liked the Dinobots even as a kid. I looked at my G1 Grimlock in episode 330 and my G1 Sludge, who I adored in episode 331. But most recently, I've looked at Slash in episode 338. I looked at Slug, or Slag if you will, in episode 343. I looked at Swoop in episode 344. Grimlock himself in episode 345. Sludge in episode 397 very recently, and just before this now, Snarl, who I think is fantastic in episode 398, and all the custom paintwork that I did on these guys. By the way, the FOC Grimlock, I did a comparison of him with the Age of Extinction Grimlock, and I think that was in episode 65, if I'm not mistaken. But you've seen now how the entire team looked. How they looked. This is them updated, and of course, naturally, this is more G1 accurate. Even the addition of Slash is fantastic. I think she fits in so nicely, and it's a fun little mold. I don't mind putting Scorn in here. I think he fits fine. I think it still looks good. It's not perfect because it's a different aesthetic, but I'll leave him there because I just think that Scorn is fun. I think he's a fun figure. I think he's a fun character. But this is how these guys look in Robot. Now, we'll do kind of a before and after like this for Dino mode as well, just so you can kind of see what everything looked like and what it all looks like now, and then we'll get into the unification of these guys into Volcanicus. And here we have them all in dinosaur mode. Picking up Snarl's head there. And this is what my team looked like for a few years, 4 years I guess. It worked. It worked for me. Is it stylized? Yeah, you bet. And of course a lot of people have said to me, hey, you really should have gotten the Last Night Grimlock or even the Age of Extinction Grimlock and painted it to match these guys. Maybe. But this was never my ideal anyway. It was a holdover and it served me well, and honestly, I feel like a lot of these are pretty good. Like Snarl is pretty good, Slug is pretty good, Scorn is great, Strafe is pretty fantastic. The weak one is probably Slug, who is the stand-in of course for Sludge. And the weakest of them all is definitely the Slash that came here. And we never knew it at the time, but apparently Slash was always a female Dinobot. Who knew? I certainly didn't. Not that that matters, because the Raptor mode is cool. It's just the robot mode for Slash is rubbish. No, never put it in robot mode. Leave it in Dino mode because it looks really cool that way. But I'm so happy to be able to go from this sort of look to this sort of look. And this is coming straight out of the 80s. This is, to my mind, a really nice homage to the cartoon versions of these guys. Because in the 80s, we liked our Tyrannosaurus Rexes to stand upright. We liked for our Dinobots to kind of just look rounded and bulky and more like dinosaurs. A couple of things to note here. You may notice that I now have Slash standing. In her review, I mentioned that her pegs for her feet couldn't really peg into her hands very well. I sanded them down slightly, and they do peg into her hands now. And you know what? She's even more fantastic than I thought she was, because now she can indeed stand just fine. I also want to note that way over on the end you see Sludge. Again, he's still the weakest one because, as I mentioned in his review, really a lot was sort of sacrificed, especially size, for the whole combiner gimmick. Maybe you dig it. I would have liked him a Voyager. He looks nice, don't get me wrong, and he's quite functional. But the size, I can really see the argument for it. All of these guys are arguably too small. That depends on your take. Some people have said, hey, maybe the Titan class combiner should have been Volcanicus. I could see the argument for that as well. I'm cool with them at this size, but I could see people wanting the limbs to be Voyagers and Grimlock to be a leader, if they're going to combine. And of course, if you're cool with this size, but not this aesthetic, you know, you might want to go with, I think it's Mech Fans Toys are doing, or Mech Fan Toys? I'm not sure what it is. They're doing KOs of the little legend-sized DX9 ones. I mean, they're a little bit more expensive, of course. You gotta get those things online, but it's an option, I suppose. If you want these guys bigger, I've heard that Black Mamba is gonna be KOing all of these. Again, I guess that's an option if you want. But honestly, I like the size, I like the look of the official. I mentioned how Sludge was the weakest. I've also heard of a lot of breakages on his tail, and I haven't experienced it, but in his review I do explain how you can sort of handle dealing with clear plastic when it cracks. Can it be repaired? Yeah, it can. It takes a bit of work, but it can be repaired. If your Sludge, or for that matter, Slug or Snarl, have their clear plastic tail break, can you fix it? Yeah, actually, you can. Like I said, it takes a bit of work, but I explain all the steps in there. This works for me. Again, we have Scorn over here, who's a little bit of an add-on to the group, along with Slash. But I mean, if we take these two out of it, there is our core 5 that we all know and love from the G1 days. Okay, it's time to get into Volcanicus mode, and for the record, I am going to find a way to include her as well. I can't include Scorn, of course. So, I guess we'll start by kind of getting the two Dinobots that I'm going to use as legs into position. First, I'm going to give all the grades for everything at the end when he's combined. Speaking of Sludge, he's going to be our first one. I don't know. Let's make this guy a leg. Let's make this dude a leg. It's pretty easy to do. I've already shown it in his review. That's why I'm not going to spend any time on it. I'm just going to do it very quickly, just so you can see how easy it is. All you really need to do is bring that whole piece forward, flip up the combiner peg, take the tail and flip it up on the back. Take these and turn them around so that they're facing out. I guess angle these up if you're so inclined for the back. And just because I like doing it, I'm going to turn the head around so that it's facing up. And we'll take a foot piece and it goes up right here. And there is a leg of Volcanicus. Done. And just because I like symmetry, we're going to make the kind of mold partner for Sludge into the other leg. And guess what? We do it pretty much the same way. We bring the tail up. We collapse the legs on the side this time. We, again, bring these around to the side and they tab in. We take this whole head section and bring it forward and we flip up a combiner peg. We have all of that done. We take a foot and put it up there, or these were the bucklers on Grimlock's arms, but there we go, now we have another leg. And if we have legs, of course, we're gonna need an arm. I'm gonna use the absolute best one as an arm. And again, it's not hard to do. We take the head, and I guess we'll split it. We bring these little leg pieces up on the side. We open these sections out and we unfold the legs as if we were going to robot mode. Fold them out. We tab them back together once they are folded out. And we have a little piece right here that we fold down. That's what the hand is going to go into. And we close these sections back up. You really need to close them together. We peg the head back together. Which arm will we do him as? We'll turn him this way so that we have as much of a bend as we can have with the guy. We take these pieces and we turn them around and they tab in right there, a little slot right there on the gold. So bring that around, make sure it's folded up. Rotate the shoulder up if you haven't already. Tab that in. Although having him in Dino mode, we should have the shoulders rotated up already. And that in, we're just about done. We bring back his tail and I would say split it so that you have really full range of motion of his shoulder. Bring the combiner peg out, push that back into place. You can even flatten out those two plates if you want, and we'll take his hand piece, because we know it's his because it has the gold peg on it, and we will slot that into place, and now we have an arm for Volcanicus. And we have one arm to go. It's the one that I said was a awful, terrible arm, and it is. I was going to use it as a leg, but man, we might as well do it as an arm. I think he's supposed to be an arm. Whatever. Okay, actually it's easy to get him into arm mode from here. The legs of this guy are just pegged up over his back, so we unpeg the legs, and we're unpegging them from there's a little hole there and a little hole there. Little start there and a little start over here. That's where I'm pegging them from. You take the dino feet, I guess, and bring them there and straighten out his legs. You straighten out the robot mode feet and then you try to peg the legs together. I've heard it said that if you peg the dino feet together first and then work your way up the leg, that it stays together better. I don't know. I don't know if it really does. At least on mine. But it's something you can try if you have found yours being loose. We pick up this entire black piece that has both the dinosaur head and the robot head on it, and we bring it forward so we can get the combiner peg out. And then, and you'll notice I'm going through this really fast. And then we take the wings out to the side, and there's a little hole there, there's a little slot on the shoulder, and we peg the wings into place. You can kind of bring the wings out there. Turn the waist, so now you have a full elbow for the guy. Take one of these two thumbed hand pieces, they're weird. And that just came apart. You get the idea. That's supposed to go. Slot it into the hole there. Bring this up. And there we go. We have another arm for Volcanicus done. Now, I bet you expected Grimlock next. No, we're going to get Slash kind of in position here as much as we can because this is unofficial, of course. So we open this piece up and we bring the head in. And that'll go up really like that. Then we take the arms and we position them kind of like this. And the legs, you can either leave them down as they are, or you can split them and fit them in there. These two little, I guess, front arms of the Raptor mode will cling on to Grimlock, and the idea is that she's a backpack and these two little shoulder pieces are like the thrusters. So it's up to you how well this works. And now we have Grimlock, and you've probably seen so far that, you know what, this isn't that challenging of a conversion. It's really not that bad. This guy is the most challenging part of it, and he's not too bad once you know what to do. I already went through it, so again, I'm just going to fly through this really quickly. I'm probably not going to have it show up that great here, because that's not the main goal. So, from dinosaur mode, we untab the head, and we open out the chest. We take the chest section back up and we bring it together. Then we untab the waist, bring the whole thing forward, and we have two slots on the chest, two tabs down on the waist. We bring the whole thing down and we bring the dinosaur head back down, and if you really want, you can open up the dinosaur mouth and you can put in an Enigma combination. There's a little kind of slot right down bottom. So you can kind of just slot it on like that. The legs and the tail, well, the tail goes up, the legs split apart. We swivel him at the waist. We bring out the legs to the side and I guess bend appropriately at the knee. You got the idea there. Now, I'm going to just readjust this slightly because I do want to show what you do with the arms. I firmly believe the arms are the trickiest part of this guy, and even they're not so tricky. You bring them out to the side, you turn, and then you're going to fold the arm back around. When you do so, you're going to notice that you have a peg on the back of the shoulder, you have a slot on the arm, and they're supposed to peg into each other. They'll do it, but you might have to fiddle with it ever so slightly just to get it in place. There we go. This one here, out to the side. We turn the arm, we bring it to the back, and we peg it in. Then we bring down these two pieces here. They really, when they come down, you have a little rectangular slot up there, you have a little rectangular tab right here, and that solidifies that into position, or it's supposed to, and that solidifies that into position, or it's supposed to. We have this gray flap right here. That is going to come forward to bring up Volcanicus's head, and if you haven't done so already, there's a red little tab back there that you put down to solidify Volcanicus's head into position. And now we have Volcanicus. The two legs, I guess we'll attach those first, because hey, why not? Obviously, we have this slot here, and it goes over the combiner peg, and we have the other slot. It too goes over the combiner peg, and now we have him standing up, and of course he's off camera. We need to readjust because this guy naturally is getting tall. The dude's a combiner, man. What do you expect? We have a slot over right here. That's where we will put Snarl. And on the other side, naturally, that's where we're going to put Swoop. It's probably easier if I actually go over and just do it this way. And we're almost done. I know, you're thinking, what do you mean we're almost done? This is Volcanicus. No, it's not, because we have a couple of things left to do. The first of which is placing the other two fists. Officially speaking, yeah, I do believe that this is Volcanicus. This is what we are supposed to just have officially based on what we were shown. And that torso doesn't look good. The proportions are really weird with these elongated shoulders and little skinny waist with this huge dinosaur head on the chest. It's weird. But that being said, no, you see an issue right there. I'll try and get this up out of the way so I can hopefully show it. Maybe I actually got to take the arm off to show it. I thought I could do it with the arm on, but I don't think I can. We have up right there, we have a circular hole kind of under the shoulder, under the arm section here. That is just the right size for one of these hand pieces to fit into. And it does help to fill out the body, no doubt. And it fits pretty securely. Naturally, at this point we would place, if he'll do it, place Snarl back on there. And you can see the difference on the two sides of the body. Like, putting that handpiece in helps tremendously with filling the body out. Naturally, if we do it on one side, we can do it on the other side. And now, last but not least, we will do the fan mode edition of Slash as a backpack. I've seen ways that she's been attached to the front, but I don't know, that seems so typical that the little Legends class figure is going to be a chest plate. Backpack is kind of different. I just thought it was cool. You have a slot here and a slot here. The front, I guess, arms of the Raptor mode fit in there. You may have to flex them slightly because, of course, this is not official. So I got one in, and it usually helps if you have one side already in first. There's the other one in. And there's Slash as a backpack. I should by rights have her head turned around. this shoulder piece here and this shoulder piece here would be like thrusters. People have said, does it make him fly? I think the kind of going idea for this fan mode is that it helps him to kind of jump in, I don't know, higher leaps, I suppose? I guess? But now, finally, this is Volcanicus complete. And just how big is he, you might ask? Well, here he is next to the, oh, the foot's a little turned, the Combiner Wars Superion. So, you know, he's definitely Combiner War size. In fact, he might even be a little bit taller than Superion. Probably because those feet are a bit bigger than the hand-foot piece that came with these guys. Here he is with the perhaps smallest of the Combiner Wars line, that being Defensor. But he's bulky though. The dude hits the gym. I dig it. I like Defensor. It's not perfect, but like he looks cool. And finally, here he is with Computron, who I absolutely dig, although he's kind of leaned forward a bit there at the moment. There. I totally dig this look. Absolutely loving it. By the way, I looked at all of the pieces of Defensor and Defensor himself a long time ago. Somewhere around 54, 55, somewhere around there. I looked at all of the aerial bots somewhere in the late 30s. I know that I looked at Superion combined in episode 40, so like a long time ago, man. And Computron here has a ton of custom work done on him, including the sculpting of a new face. I looked at him, kind of the stock way he appears out of the box in episode 149, and the custom work that I did with him as an update in episode 150. So, Paint Apps as our first score. Look, like I said, I'm not into a Dinobot combiner, but if you are, then this is the way a Dinobot combiner probably should look. It's definitely not like the Beast. If you know the reference I'm talking about from the comics, then yay you, but this, like, it looks lumbering, it looks peculiar and odd shape, but it looks kind of, I don't know, like a bruiser, like a brawler. If Dinobots are going to combine, this is how it should look. Of course, I called it a custom. I called it a custom because we have the hands added. Really, that's a custom, a fan mode. We have Slash added. Really, that's a custom and a fan mode. And of course, all of the Dinobots have custom paint apps on them anyway. So this is a little bit stylized from what he would kind of stock look, but it's the basic idea, folks. I'm going to say it's a 10. Like, he looks cool. It just, he looks weird. The transformation. Getting to this mode, for the most part, is easy. The only thing that's hard is the tolerances on the Dinobots themselves, especially the legs with these foot pieces tabbing into the main body piece. They like to pop. Besides that, oh, and Swoop's lower legs just not really liking to hold together. Although I will say this, today, for whatever reason, the whole method of tabbing the feet together first seems to be working well for Swoop. Who knows? Again, the transformation is easy to get here for the most part. You saw it yourself again. I'm going to say that's a 10. Then we get to articulation, and that's where the metal of a combiner comes in. Like Superion, fantastic articulation. Defensor, it's all right, except his chest doesn't like to stay tabbed in on the two sides, so that means his arms sort of start to move. Bruticus was fantastic. You know, Skylynx as a torso was Menasor, man. So many problems with that torso. So what about this guy? Well, the head goes left and right. I guess it can look up and down, but not really. I mean, you're kind of destabilizing things to make it look up and down. The weight of the arms tends to pull the shoulders down a little bit on mine, which means this piece that's supposed to lock the shoulder in place doesn't really do it. So the shoulders, you know, the arms can go way out to the side. That's cool. We have a bicep swivel. We have an elbow, not really to 90 degrees. Not really. You do have, although this is, see, this is coming apart now, which is the first time it's ever happened with Snarl, by the way. That is a first. We have a wrist rotation. The fingers can open and close. Each thumb can move out to the side, I suppose. I think I mentioned the bicep swivel. We have rotation. Now, here's the thing. Forward's alright, back's alright, but you'll notice as I'm moving it, like this whole section has come destabilized. Really what you're going to have to do, and I'm just going to take Slash off there for now, because she doesn't really, you know, she holds on sort of precariously, and she's probably going to fall out as we're moving this anyway. So I would restabilize the shoulder, and honestly, if you're moving the arm, you're going to want to hold on to that whole section. It holds fine, like, I mean, you know, if it's out front, like, it's, you know, it's fine. On the other side, it's the exact same articulation with Swoop. We have the bicep, we have the hand rotation, although the hand here, because of the way his feet are, can move up and down a bit. We have out, again, we have the ability to rotate all the way around. You are probably going to have to hold that section on. Does the dude have a waist? Yes, he does, and the waist is one of the most successful joints on him. Getting the arms here out of the way, Swoop's already after coming apart. Lifting that skirt piece out of the way. The legs can go well out to the front, well to the back. We have, because of Grimlock's thigh rotation, we have this weird movement like this. We do, however, have a swivel at the knee. We have over 90 degrees at the knee. The feet can go left and right, but no tilt forward or backward. He's pretty stable for the most part. Like, I don't have, I'm saying he's pretty stable and then he falls over. You know what? I don't like a Dinobot combiner. I don't. Swoop is a failure. Swoop is not a good limb. It makes me concerned about his reuse for Abominus, because he's an excellent robot, excellent dinosaur. He is a terrible limb. Fine for display, but if you want to really use it for play, it's not that great. Like taking that hand out again, to have those feet together again. I would say that for combiner articulation, we have around a 6. It's a little bit better than average. It's not as bad as, say, Menasor, but it is not as good because of these shoulders not really staying tabbed into place that well. And when you rotate the arm, and because Swoop is a terrible arm, though arguably you could make Swoop a leg and replace it with one of these, which I don't particularly find to be much better as arms. I think the only successful limb is Snarl. The articulation's all there, but the tolerances are a little bit of a nuisance. It's not as bad, not close to as bad as Menasor, but it's not as strong as Superion or Bruticus, for example. If that's as strong as you're expecting this to be, I think you're going to be disappointed. That being said, if you're anything like me, who cares, man? Who cares? You got these guys to be your Dinobots. Who cares if they can do this? If you do care, then what is the overall score? We had a 10, a 10, and a 6. It is still, I would say, a solid 8 for a combiner because he stands well. Maybe you will luck out and the tolerances on your shoulders and the tolerances on your Swoop may be better. And if that's the case, then I think the articulation would bump up easily to an 8, maybe an 8.5. Those tolerance issues aside, He's pretty good. It's not for me, but he's pretty good, I have to admit it. Kind of trying to be objective here. I personally can't overlook the tolerance issues that mine has. You're seeing them here. You're going to see them once more because right now I'm curious. I'm curious what the Dinobots think of this. I'm curious what they think of their makeover. And we're going to see that soon here on the channel when the Dinobots visit Mr. Sunstreaker's House of Style to get a makeover. And if you saw the Very Transformers Christmas 2, then you know by now that Grimlock was given a gift certificate by Optimus to go and give the Dinobots makeovers. We're going to see what these guys think of this coming up very soon. As for me, objectively, it's an 8. It's a fine combiner, barring the tolerance issues. Subjectively, outside of this, and probably in that stop motion, I don't think I'm ever going to do this again, because it's just not for me personally. If it's for you, then yay man, you win, and I think that you'll be kind of happy. You'll be happier than you were with Menasor, and that's a victory right there. And here we are back here again. What can I say? Like, I'm not down for this. They're not going to go combined for me personally anymore. But in trying to be objective and informative for all of you folks, I have to say that mostly he works. If your kind of wing pieces tab in better up top, then great. The shoulders will be more secure. Without them, they're okay, but you really do need to sort of hold this section in order to move the shoulder, at least on mine. But I do believe that if the combiner pegs are just a little bit weaker on yours, that you can probably rotate them just fine. Swoop. I've said it before and I'll say it again, the guy does not work as a limb. It makes me worried about his reuse in the Abominus combiner coming up. It's a great toy for a dino mode, for a robot mode. And I did say in his review that I was going to use him as a leg, and perhaps he does work better there. I think he's more secure. My only concern there is whether or not the weight of this guy would kind of cause a bit of a split. I've heard of that happening, and I've heard of him sort of bending at the waist a little bit at a weird joint that's still sort of operational in leg mode, when it really kind of shouldn't be. I do think that the extra hands should go on the side for sure to bulk out the body just a little bit to make him a little more imposing. Here's the thing. If you have the tolerance issues that I have, then overall he's probably a 6, maybe a 7. It's an okay combiner, not the best. There's upgrade kits available. I think that they might help. I don't know with the stability, but they'll certainly make him look cool. If you do not have the same issues that I have, then he could easily be an 8 for a combiner. It's pretty interesting to look at, pretty good, and certainly pretty imposing with a great head sculpt for Volcanicus himself. It's really up to you, and it's hard for me to stay impartial when this does something that I don't think it needed to do. I was cool with just Dinobots. I was. But this does most assuredly add a new dimension and an extra play value because, come on, another Autobot combiner? We've always had more Decepticon combiners than Autobots. It's great to at least see someone else thrown in the mix. But you know what I'd really like? I'd really like to get a Lancer and a Greenlight, because I think that could make Elita 1's group into a pretty interesting combiner in its own right. But that's wishful thinking for another time. As far as this guy goes, arbitrarily speaking, he's a pretty good combiner. It's probably a split the difference between the 6 that I think he is because I don't think it's necessary, the 8 that I believe him to be as just a standalone combiner. We're going to split the difference and say overall this guy is about a 7. It's not bad. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. Let me know what you think of Volcanicus. Were you down for combining Dinobots? Do you think it's the coolest thing since sliced bread? Maybe you do. You know I always love to hear what you guys have to say. I thank you very much for dropping by and giving me some of your extremely valuable time. And I very much look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit right here inside the videos.